Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Eatertainment with Deah. If you haven't subscribed yet, please take a moment to hit the little subscribe button. Today's theme is going to be a tailgate menu. So just in case you're planning on doing a Super Bowl party, we want to make things a little bit simpler so that you can spend less time in the kitchen and more time with your guests. The first thing we're going to do is prepare our hot ham and Swiss sandwiches and the roast beef and provolone. If you know how to make a sandwich, you can do this. So the first thing we're going to do is take our sweet roll. I have a sweet roll. You can use any kind that you would like. This is just a Hawaiian roll. I find that the texture and the taste of it goes well with the flavor combinations of the sandwiches that we're preparing. So if you have a casserole dish, it doesn't have to be lined or you don't have to spray it or anything. We're just going to put the bottom halves on our casserole dish. And I've already done the second one to show you what it will look like here. Save our tops because we're going to need that later. Then we're going to just layer it. Now when you do it, your dish is going to be full. So even though mine looks a little empty, I'm going to show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. So I'm laying down my meats first. Now I'm using processed deli meats on this one. For the most part, I try to stay away from a lot of processed foods, but for something like this, I think it's really simple and it's not like you're going to eat this every day, hopefully not. So I think this is really easy and something that you can readily find available in any of your stores. And then from here, I'm just going to layer. So I'm going to take my cheese that I have, whatever you decide. Again, I'm using Swiss and provolone because I like the combinations with the meats, but you can use whatever you fancy. After you've laid your cheeses on there, then I have prepared for you just a little bit of regular mayonnaise and Dijon mustard. Just mix that up together. I'm using those two combinations because they kind of go well with either your turkey or your ham or your roast beef, whatever meats you decide to use. So I think that makes a pretty good combination, and I just blended both of them together. So that's what I have in here. It's going to look like that. Next, after you do that, I told you this is really simple. You just take your mixture here and you spread it on, and then you put it on the top. When the first time I made this dish, I was worried that I wouldn't get it exactly lined up properly. That's the OCD in me, but it doesn't even matter. You press those down and then put a little bit more and smear it on top before you put it in the oven. Now I've already preheated my oven, so that's going for me. But once you have them lined up, again, yours will cover the entire dish. It's going to look like this. You're going to slather that special sauce on the top of it and then pop it in the oven, really probably at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes or so, 7 to 10 minutes. Make sure you watch out because you don't want this to crisp up. So if you get a close-up of that, all of the cheese is all runny and gooey, and that's probably the way cheese should be eaten. Or at least I always think so. The gooier, the better. So next I'm going to just grab a spatula and I'm going to plate this up for you. I have my guests here, so they are all ready to eat. And as the name implies, Eatertainment, in each episode, I aim to give you little tips that can help you when you're throwing your parties or just doing something around the house, entertaining your guests, just to make it that much simpler for you. So after I finish plating these, I'm going to give you a couple of tips to make this even easier. I always like to plate on white plates because I think it's pretty, but when you're serving this to your guests, if you have some colorful plates, or if you have even some sports teams that you're doing, if you're doing like a theme, you can do like Dallas Cowboys or whoever your team of choice is. This is it. If you see, the sauce that we made is already melted in. That's going to leave it a little bit of a kick when you're eating your sandwiches, and that's going to be really great, like a little party going on in your mouth. So we have that ready for our guests. Next, I'm going to show you some decorations that you can use on your table to make your guests feel welcomed and invited. So after you have your things all lined up here, all of your food prepared the way you want it. I have some of mine already lined up, as you can see. So here's our hot ham and Swiss sandwiches, the roast beef and provolone. And if you look underneath here, if that looks familiar, that's just green turf. I picked it up from a local hardware store. It's sold by the foot, so luckily I was able to pick this up for just a little bit under $3. They sometimes charge you a cutting fee, but if you play nice and talk to them and let them know what it is you're needing it for, you never know, they may waive the fee. Shout out Diana. So thanks for hooking your girl up. I really appreciate it. So this turf, I find, goes well with our football theme, but you can use other things as well. If you also see the candy dish that I have right here, you can use other things in there as well. If you don't want to use candy, if you're not doing a football tailgate, you could also use playing cards. If you're doing a game night, you could throw dominoes in there. That could be your decor that you could use. There are a number of different things. And then also, the chalkboard sign, I'm using this as a menu. I got this from a local arts and crafts store. It was just a little bit under $2. So that would be great if you're using it for your menu. And we just said ham and Swiss versus roast beef and provolone. Go team, go. And these cute little toothpicks I also picked up from the local arts and crafts store. I'm just gonna stick those in our foods so that your guests know what it is they're eating. Because no one likes to ask a million times, what kind of sandwich is that? I hate it when I go to a party and you're walking down the line and you're trying to pick stuff up. You have no idea what you're picking up. So always indicate what it is they're about to eat. So there we've placed ours. Those were really inexpensive as well. As I said, from the arts and crafts store, they were about $1. And you can also pick up these lovely sticker decals here. And any sport or any craft that you can imagine, also from your arts and crafts store, and that was also under $1. So again, these are all things you can incorporate into your planning, into your party, and I hope you will. One last thing before I forget, if you'll see where we have our silverware here, I've given you a couple of different options. I just picked this up because it reminded me of the turf, so I wanted to get something green to kind of blend in. You can roll it up. I usually put my silverware at the end so that after they've picked up their food, then they can just grab their silverware and go, because no one likes to fumble with silverware in your hand while you're grabbing your plate. So you can either have it rolled up like that, or we've placed it in here. And also the felt that I picked up here was less than 30 cents a piece at my local arts and crafts store. So if you haven't figured it out by now, I love to frequent arts and crafts stores among other places, but it can be a really great place to find things at a discount, especially right after the holidays. The last thing I'm going to prepare for you today are the chili and a bread bowl. And again, just like the hot ham and Swiss and the roast beef and provolone, it's really simple. You can either make your chili homemade, which I know some people love to do. If you have the time, I encourage you to do so. But for those of you who don't have the time or just are not able to, or maybe you just don't want to, that's fine too. Go ahead and grab a can of chili or any chili that you'd like. Actually, I was in the store the other day and I noticed that they sell chili in like these pouches now. It looked pretty cool, so if anyone wants to try that, by all means do so. I also picked up some bread from the grocery store that I was at. These are really, really inexpensive. The baked rolls, I guess is what they usually refer to them as, but they all look the same. They're a little bit hard and crusty on the outside, and the inside is really soft. So I'm gonna take my trusty serrated knife, and I've already hollowed out a lot of this in preparation for you. I didn't want to spend too much time doing that already. So I hollowed it out, clean this out here, and this is what it looks like when we're done. It's really simple. After you have that done, pop those in the oven for maybe about 5 minutes just to firm them up a little bit, because you don't want any chili leaking out of the bottom of this. Your guests will not be happy with that if you ruin their clothing. Right, ladies? So you're gonna go ahead and take your bread bowl after you take it out of the oven, let it cool down for a little bit so that you can handle it. And as simple as I promised you, you're gonna spoon the chili inside, just like that. Make sure you don't overstuff it, because we're gonna leave some stuff out for your guests to customize this the way that they want it. You can have some red onions chopped up, diced up nicely for your guests. You can also use cheddar cheese, sour cream. I'm actually using Greek yogurt today because it has the same consistency and the same taste as sour cream, but lower in calories and lower in fat. No one will know the difference. I use that in replacement of sour cream a lot, and I love sour cream, so there you have it. So we're gonna put these in the oven for another probably 5 minutes, not too long. We just want everything to kind of firm up together, have it good and toasty, and when your guests get here, you can place these out for them. So let's go ahead and get these on a plate for our guests. And that's it. I told you it would be simple, and I would keep you out of the kitchen as much as possible and enjoying your guests. So I'm gonna run now because my friends are here, but if you haven't already, please take a moment to click on the subscribe link below. Go ahead and do that. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Thank you. And tell all your friends. Eatertainment with Deah, where I'm gonna teach you the fine art of entertaining and cooking at home. Simple. Thanks.
You